Happy Wednesday, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Transportation and Logistics podcast, powered by Atlanta Dispatch and Humblebee Enterprises. I'm very excited to be here with a special guest. We have Desmond Des Clark of Bear Down Logistics. And before we begin, I did just want to say the Dispatcher's Guide to the Galaxy is available now as an ebook or physical book. As I've said before, dispatchers, independent dispatch agencies, have been legitimized by the FMCSA, and there are now going to be some regulations built around there. So this ebook, this guide, is everything that you need to set yourself out on the right track. So very excited about it. Also, I want to give a big old shout out to Angel Reese of Louisiana State University, and also Caitlin Clark of Iowa for driving the viewership of the women's NCAA basketball championship to, basically an average viewership of about 10 million people, which means it was the most watched women's basketball game, or excuse me, women's college basketball game ever. So I absolutely love that. More notoriety going to women's basketball. And I love the fact that these kids are now able to make money based on their name, their image, their likeness, basically their celebrity. The same way that they're allowing all these programs to make money, they are now able to benefit from their own successes. So I'm very excited about that. And without further ado, my brother, introduce yourself and let us know, how do you feel about these NIL situations? The fact that these young star athletes are able to capitalize on their celebrity.
Well, nah, I appreciate you having me on. So most people know me from my days in the NFL, playing 12 years in the NFL, three with Denver Broncos, one with the Miami Dolphins, and my last eight with the Chicago Bears. But now I'm in this logistics and loving every minute of it. But as far as NIL is concerned, I love it. I love the fact that uh, these athletes, these individuals get to capitalize on their hard work, the names that they made for themselves. I think it was long overdue, and it's going to come with some bumps in the road. But I think, hey, this is a free enterprise society that we live in. So if you can make money off of who you are and what you do, I don't think anybody should limit that, especially when other people can make money off the same type of activities that they're doing for themselves.
Yes, sir. I agree with that 100%. And I guess in my day, the biggest, like the superstar athlete from college that I was really looking at back in the day was Reggie Bush, and that brother, he went on to win a lot of prestigious awards in college. And then, you know, within the last, what, decade, last 5 years or so, they made him give back his Heisman Trophy, because he had a family to feed, and people were, giving him money. I
Right.
guess you know what I mean. I just hate the fact that it's so long overdue because, like I stated before, there are literally billions with a B that have been made off of the name, image, and likeness of these kids, and I guess that's just a personal thing. I think they should give that brother his Heisman back.
They should, because it doesn't matter what he was benefiting from. He still had to go out on the field and play the game and be outstanding like he was to win that award. One doesn't have anything to do with the other. So I think I mean, even you go back to, I forget the quarterback's name that was with Ohio State when he sold his championship ring, his Big Ten championship ring, and he got suspended for the whole next season. And it really, Terrell Pryor was his name, is his name, and that messed up his draft stock for the following season because he was suspended for selling his ring. Like he earned it, they gave it to him, but they say he couldn't sell it and profit from it. So some of these rules that the NCAA had were very hypocritical, and I'm glad that they're gone now, and that these guys who are out there and women who are out there busting their ass to make themselves who they are can benefit from it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you mentioned you did have an opportunity to play in the league, the NFL. A lot of athletes, once they have hit that pro level, there's always this fear of what's next after the league. Did you ever consider staying around, maybe being like a position coach or anything like that?
I did for a brief period of time. To my tight ends coach told me it's not something that I wanted to do, and I just asked him why because I thought he was saying that maybe I wouldn't be good at it, but
Uh
he
huh.
was absolutely right when he told me. Excuse me. He said, Desmond, you got too many other things that you want to do in life. You got too many other ambitions, and you're a family guy. He was like, if you're gonna be a coach, coaching is your life. And he told me that, hey, it's only on Fridays, the only day that he sees his son up running around and that he actually get to spend time with him. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, you're probably right. So um, after hearing that story and then asking my college coach, what that life was like, it's a grind, man. And yeah, I do have too many other I did have too many other things that I wanted to do in life, and then just wanting to see my kids grow up too. That kind of eliminated that possibility for me.
Yes, sir. No, I hear you. I got a really good friend, and he's on that coaching circuit in college, and that's the same exact thing that he's witnessed himself, and any of the big time coaches that he played under. That's the exact thing that they said. So it is a grind, it is a hustle, and it's a huge sacrifice on that family time. So I'm very happy that you were in a position where you were able to decide to do something else that interests you. What brought you over to freight? You've opened and you're now operating your freight brokerage. Like, why a freight brokerage?
Um, it kind of happened on accident. For the 2 years prior to me opening up my freight brokerage, I was doing speaking and leadership coaching and training, something that is a passion of mine. I kind of got out of corporate America where I was working with Mass Mutual. I actually owned a small percentage of a small independent insurance brokerage. I got totally out of that because I just wanted to do something that I was really passionate about. And as I was out marketing myself and doing the things that I do on social media and particularly LinkedIn, that's when I ran into my partner, Brian, from Dre Depot. And he had some ideas about us kind of cross marketing and doing some work together. And that's when I started to learn about freight brokering and logistics. And as I learned more and more about it, I became more and more interested in it. And then he propositioned me to come and work with him, but he was in this small little niche market of drayage, and I was asking him why didn't he do more of the other modes of transportation. And once I found out how much he was letting go because he was just in this niche, that's when the light came on. Like, okay, if you're letting 100, 200, $300,000 go per month, an opportunity that you could be picking up, now I'm interested in learning how can I get in and pick that up. And that's kind of where it all started. And from there, I just started studying. He mentored me. He told me what I needed to do, how I needed to do it. And when I got fully ready after studying it for about 8 months without jumping into it, I jumped into it in May of 2022. And, it's almost been a year now, and things are going pretty well.
Nice, man. I love to hear it. I mean, you kind of mentioned this, and I wanted to kind of expand on it just a little bit. You said that your partner, your mentor, the person that guided you into the industry, he has a niche of drayage. How do you feel about a niche? Do you plan to niche down to focus on one specific area and become an expert there? Or do you feel like you want to keep your options open?
No, actually, we are niching down, so to speak. So when I first got into it, just like most people, you're just trying to figure things out. You're just trying to get revenue in. You're trying to grab anything that you can. But now that we've, gotten to the position that we're sustainable, we got revenue coming in. We got good employees now. Still a small company. We're growing, but now we just partnered with an asset-based company. Now we got assets. Now we got warehousing. Um, and now we want to dominate the state of Florida. So anything that's coming in from the ports, we want to let people know that Bear Down Logistics is your asset-based warehousing, transloading, and brokerage to serve you right here in the state of Florida. If we can't do it with our assets, we could do it through the brokerage. But that's where we want to dominate. And then outside of that, we can also do the other 47 states. But we want to be known specifically for if you're bringing freight in Florida, you got to get with Bear Down Logistics because this is what we do and we do it better than anybody else.
Gotcha. Where are the warehouses?
So our warehouses are in Tampa, and we got over 100,000 square feet of warehousing. We just got into our latest one, 45,000 square feet over the last 3 weeks here, 3 weeks to a month. So we're expanding, man, and we're looking to find other warehousing opportunities because it's a lack of warehousing, and if we could continue to expand, we just see that as a way for us to grow, and like I said, be the dominant force here in Central and in South Florida.
Okay, yeah, man. I personally know a lady who got about 3 trucks looking to do drayage in the Tampa area. So I'm gonna connect y'all. But okay,
Hey, send her our way. Man, I was just over in Tampa with my partner today, and we have a capacity issue, and that's the number one thing that we're going after right now is to find people with trucks that want to do dredge, that want to go home every night, want to make good money, and then like I said, be able to go home every night. So that's our number one priority right now.
okay. Well, it doesn't sound like starting this brokerage and the softest market that we've had in, decades has really scared you or, made you hesitate or anything like that. I love it, man. But, with the market being as cold or excuse me, as soft as it is, I did want to learn about, what was your first cold call like? You're reaching out to these shippers like, hey man, I got this brokerage and I can move your freight. What was that first cold call like for you?
Nerve wracking, just
Yeah.
like it is for everybody else, because I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. I'm just trying to piece some stuff together. My mentor, hey, this is one way that you could do it. This is another way to attack it. So I just listened to what he had to say. I took the notes and I wrote it down. And I got on the phone and said, hey, this is Des Clark from Bear Down Logistics, and looking to talk to whoever's in your shipping department. We have capacity up in your area, and I'm lying. We got capacity up in your area. We do shipping with companies that's similar to yours, so we know all about your type of products, and we'll love to see if you need capacity in your area over the next week or so. And that was it.
Yeah.
And and here's the thing, Jory. Like when that first person said yes, then I'm like, oh damn, what I do now?
All right. What do I do now? No, I feel you, man. I mean, what did you do?
I, I
I'm
figured
interested.
I figured it out, and my first opportunity came through a cold emailing, right? So I bought this list of 30,000, which a lot of people probably buy. I forget Pilot, something Pilot. I forget the name of the publication, but you can buy this list of 30,000 contacts for $500, and that's what I started off with. And so I was emailing, and I got an email back say, hey, give me a quote on this lane, and I'm like, okay. So I called Brian and like I got my first quote. Help me quote this out. I quoted it, sent it in, and she was like, it'll be ready to be picked up on such and such date. And now I'm really
Oh,
scared because
yeah.
now I got to go out and file a truck for the first time. So just I mean, looking back at those times, it was nerve wracking, but it was exciting all at the same time. And then you fast forward, so I got my first load in June of 2022. And you fast forward towards, I think it was November or December, I'm having a conversation with my very first client. I was like, hey, let me tell you something, if you don't mind, because I'm doing a good job for you now. Do you know that you was my first client? Like you gave me my first load. She was like, really? I was like, yeah. And I was
Mm,
nervous as heck. She was like, but you've been doing a good job this whole time. I thought you've been doing it. I was like, no. But
right.
I could tell you that now. But yeah, it was nerve wracking, just like anybody else doing that first cold call, and then you get that first yes, and it's like, oh man, just don't screw this up.
Right, right. And after that, the sky is the limit. What's the it, actually just going back into what you just said, man? That's pretty fast. You started in May. You got your first opportunity in June. That's not normal. Do you think that you would attribute your quick success to just your leadership and the fact that you were doing that leadership development training, and that was the way that you were able to kind of handle yourself, or do you feel like you tapped into the celebrity of your background? Like, what do you feel like attributed to that success?
To the first one, it was
Yeah, your
just
very first one. Your very first one.
no, it was just the activity of every day calling and emailing, calling and emailing, calling and emailing, and that went on for like a month, and I started calling around like, yo, does this really work? And people was like, just keep going, follow up with people, and just keep going. You'll get the first one, and you'll get the second one, and it was more so the right time at being in the right place at the right time where somebody needed it, and I just was there and I filled a gap for something that they needed at that time. So it didn't have anything to do. Now I do use my celebrity of being a football player, and I stay prospecting the Chicago market for that reason, and that helped me out, as things started to come along a little later. But that first one was just right email at the right time, being at the right place.
I hear you. I mean, so that's just basically saying that God will bless you, but you got to be where you're supposed to be in order to receive that blessing.
Oh
So
man, hold on. Let's just stay there for a second.
yes, sir.
Because here's the thing. You hear a lot of people. Oh man, I just want God to bless me, and they want something, right? But here's how I kind of looked at it. You ask for these blessings, but do you have a vessel or a vehicle to receive that blessing in, right? And are you preparing that vehicle or that blessing to receive? I mean, that vehicle or that vessel to receive the blessing. And what I mean by that, I created this vehicle, and we have so many different vehicles that we could create to receive the blessing, but then we also got to make sure that we are preparing that vehicle. And the analogy, I'm using that analogy because, like I said, I was doing all of the calling, I was doing all of the reps, I was doing everything that I needed to do, and I wasn't shying away from it even when it was uncomfortable, so that when that blessing was due to be received, that vessel or that vehicle was open and it was big enough and it was wide enough to receive that blessing, by making sure that I was doing everything necessary to be in the proper place at the proper time with the proper vehicle to do it.
Yes, sir. I agree with you, and that's very important. I mean, I don't want to stay on it too long because, but I understand exactly where you're going with that. You just got to be where you're supposed to be, doing what you're intended to do to catch that thing in stride, and be able to take it to the next level. So definitely keep watering yourself, everybody that's listening to this, to make sure that you're in position to receive your blessings. And that kind of segues me over to doing your job, making sure you're doing your part when you're part of a system or you're even building the system. Like, so you were in the league for 12 years. You were an offensive threat because you played the tight end position. But it was a very common thing for you to have to block. You know what I mean? Like, you probably were blocking downfield, blocking at the line, blocking these big old dudes. Did you ever get any pancakes?
Of course, of
Okay.
course, yeah, of
Anything
course.
that you can remember that was notable or made like a huge difference in a game? Anything that comes to mind like that?
Yeah, man. It's one in particular. It was an NFC Championship game, and you mentioned Reggie Bush was playing against the New Orleans Saints, and Reggie Bush was on that team. But it was like late in the third quarter. Thomas Jones was our running back, and I was on the left side of the line, and the play was supposed to go right. So they handed the ball off to Thomas. He went off to the right side. Everything was jammed up over there. He reversed field and came all the way back to the left side. So I was on the backside initially. I tried to cut the defensive end, missed him. But then as I'm on the ground, I see Thomas Jones coming back towards me. I hop up off the ground, and lo and behold, it's just me, Thomas Jones, and the cornerback.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just went and ran the cornerback over, and Thomas Jones high stepped into the end zone. And yeah, I love talking about that play because I think that's when we knew that we was gonna win that game. It had already that put it where it was out of hand, and we knew that they couldn't come back at that point.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And I love how excited you got for, doing something that many wouldn't say is the flashy, glamorous part of, being on the offensive side of the football. People want to catch touchdowns and all that kind of stuff. But it's folks who are doing their job in the spot like you were doing that spring other players for success. So you sprung that guy to be able to high step into the end zone, and it makes me say, what are there any similarities you feel or, and that you see in building a corporate team, like your offensive threats and your support staff? Like, do you see similarities?
I see a similarity in this. Like everybody likes to score the touchdowns, right? Everybody, the glitz and glamour and being in the limelight, but it's all of that dirty work. Is all of that blocking. Is all of that you down on the ground and trying to claw and scratch and just make sure that you get that block. And then when you don't get the block, you got to get back up because here comes the running back and he's reversing field and now if you want to score, you got to do more dirty work to get put everybody else in position, right? To make plays. It's not always about you making the play, but it's about the team making the play and making sure that, especially as an owner of a company, making sure that you're putting your team in position to make plays. And that's something that I tell my guys all the time. Like my job is to make sure that this soil is fertile for you guys. And if I keep this soil fertile, now I need you to go out and plant the seeds, and I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna help you plow the land. But it's my job to make sure that you guys can prosper and grow into whatever it is that you want this to become for you. Because if I can do that for everybody in here, and I know what everybody's trying to accomplish by working with me at Bear Down Logistics, if you guys are successful, that's only going to make me more successful. And that's how I look at it. Same thing on the football field, Jory. I make that block, Thomas Jones going for the touchdown. We all go to the Super Bowl. We all going. It ain't just Thomas Jones going, but he's the one who got the shine. That's okay. We're all going to the Super Bowl.
Yes, sir. No, you couldn't. I definitely hear you there, brother. Okay. So it's basically a system. I mean, you're in this system where you got to trust one another. Like people have to trust that you're going to be where you're supposed to be, doing what you're supposed to do. At this point in life, how important is trust in your world?
Trust is everything, man. I just put a post out about that. And I'm gonna go back to something that I was just telling my guys that I think it was last Thursday or Friday. I told them, and I think I posted this video. I said, hey, I think I've proven to everybody in here because we're going through this transition with this new company that we're partnering with, right? And I could have very easily said, all right, you know what? I'm just gonna do what's best for me. But during this transition, I told the people that I was partnering with, everybody who's with me is coming with me. So let's find a position that everybody can excel at and use their skills. And my partner, my new partner, they were all on board. And then I came back to them and I told them, hey, this is what we're doing. We're gonna have a new partner, but here's how you guys are gonna play a role. And everybody was happy with their role. Everybody was ecstatic, like, oh man, that's gonna set me up for success. Yeah,
Mm.
that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And I told them, I was like, now I've proven to all of you that I got your back. Now I need y'all to have my back. And that all has to do with trust. Like I'm putting it out here and showing y'all that y'all can trust me, that I ain't gonna let y'all down. Now I need to trust that y'all never gonna let me down. And if we can have that trust 100% where I don't have to worry about nobody doing their part, then that just make life easier for everybody.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, look, tonight's topic is called Fourth and Goal with Bear Down Logistics. And, you would know this, and other sports fans will know this, that when a team is, they're down to their fourth down and, they're right there at the goal line. This is something, this is no nonsense. They want their heavy hitters, they want their serious players, they want their prime time talent to be able to pick it up and execute on the play, and they're not going to give this opportunity to any random person. It's,
No,
it's trust. It's a
right.
whole lot of trust that has gone into making that decision, and the same type of stuff when it comes to business, like when there is a huge opportunity where there are high stakes, that business owner, that shipper, that customer, they want to put the ball in the hands of somebody who they trust. And it's a matter of who's going to be clutch in this moment. And that's it's a concept everybody knows about, but Des, is it possible? How does one become clutch? Is there something that goes in that goes into preparing to be clutch? Like how does that happen?
It's the practice. It's the practice sessions. And you go back to what you're saying. You're only gonna put the ball in the hands of people. You've seen what time they come in the morning. You hear them on the phone. You see how many phone calls they're making. You see how they care for their clients. You see how they do their work every single day, day in and day out. And that's the person that you want to put the ball in their hands, especially in the crunch, right? And to develop that clutch gene, it's just practice. We all gonna screw up, and I think one of the things that really determines if you can have that clutch gene, if you don't worry about outcomes, you worry about process. Because if you can
Mm,
get into the process of, hey, this is, hey, how did I get that done? How did I do that? How did I succeed in that? Now let's back all of that down and look at the process of how that became a thing, or how did I execute that? Now, if we can go back and duplicate that process over and over and over and over and over again, to where you get so good at it, where more than likely I'm gonna get that same result every time, but I'm not even worried about that result. I'm just going through this process, and this process is gonna make me successful. Those are the people who develop that clutch gene, because it's not about the end result, it's about that process.
Man, that's a very profound answer. You got to fall in love with the process. Falling in love with the process allows you to build the system, the structure around it. So at this point, you're not thinking about what actually happened. You're just making sure that you're following the process that works. Now, that's very profound. And I appreciate you for sharing that. You even mentioned earlier about, you know, the fact that you guys are in the market of Florida, you want to dominate that market. You got these new assets, trucks and warehousing. And at this point, it's about you guys being able to show that you are a force to be reckoned with, that, customers need to think about you. Competition need to fear you. I know
Right.
competition
Nah,
has.
nah. So you that's what most people think when they think about dominate, right? But that's not really what we mean.
Okay,
When
okay,
we say we want to dominate, we want to dominate Florida. We really just want to dominate our space, right? Like I challenge my guys, hey, you need to be the best at what you do. Everybody who is part of this thing need to be the best at what they do. And dominate, one of the definitions that I looked up that I subscribe to, is having a commanding influence on. So what does having a commanding influence? It's having authority, but not being authoritarian. It's two different things. What you
okay.
was talking about is being authoritarian, where you're controlling in like a negative type of conversation, like you want to dominate someone or something. But for me, having a commanding influence means being the authority. and influencing people in a way that they know that you are the authority in this market, right? So when they think about the Florida market and they think about an asset based carrier or a brokerage or a warehouse, we've done such a good job that we've influenced them to know that we have the command of our jobs and we are the authority in Florida. That's what I mean by dominate.
Gotcha. No, that's a very key distinction. And I definitely hear where you're coming from. To have that authority, that clearly gives me an understanding, and it paints a different side of that word. Because if we're wanting to learn more about the moon, we look to NASA as the authority. Not,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? They have the leading experts that we're going to trust to guide us in, to find the right information when it comes to the moon. So
That's what
no,
I'm talking about.
yes, sir. That's a great that's a fine point of distinction. How does that look in competition? Is it do you are you still competitive when it comes to other brokerages? Because I know in sports it's much easier to choose sides. I'm on this team, you're on that team. We got to go head up, and I want to win. So I plan to dominate. Is it different dominate in that sense?
Right. So that's a little bit different, right? With other brokers, man, we look to collaborate with other brokers. I look to learn from other brokers. I want to know, hey, what are you guys doing that's really good? What can we help you guys do that we do really well that you may not be doing? The difference is out here is that it's enough for everybody to dominate. But if you're playing a game and it's a score at the end of it, there's only one person that can win, right? But in the game of business, we can all win. We can all win if we do this thing the right way. So it's not a zero sum game where one person wins and the other person loses. So I don't look at what we do in the logistics world. We were just having this conversation today as a team. My partner put up on the board, we don't have any competition yet, and I was like, cross that out. We don't have any competition at all. And what I mean by that is our only competition is who we are and who we are tomorrow. And beyond that, that's it.
I love it. I mean, truth be told, man, I was going to position this conversation to go there because that's what I've learned. That's what I've learned in my adult life, especially after becoming uh, someone who's self-employed. That I don't have competition. These are peers who I can work with, I can elaborate from, I can learn from, and I can teach and I can share opportunities. It's kind of like a it's one of those relationships that I truly value. I meet so many other dispatch company owners, and there's never the thought of, oh man, I gotta kind of buck up to make sure they understand that this is my cut. It's so many carriers out here that no one dispatch company can service every motor
Exactly.
carrier. There's no way. So
But we're in an industry, right, that we all want to see do well, because if the industry is doing well, we're doing well. So it's more advantageous to make sure that that other dispatcher, if they if they can learn something from you, you go ahead and teach them that so they can serve this industry well, so we can all do well.
yes, sir. Hence the reason why I published a book, The Dispatcher's Guide to the Galaxy, to give those guidelines on those who are interested in becoming dispatchers, because we do have a certain level of, there's a threshold, and I want everybody operating at least at that threshold so that our industry gets stronger and stronger, and people who are making these decisions see the value, and they can make regulations around whatever they things they need to make regulations around. So,
Well, speaking of that book, man, I mean, can I get a free copy?
oh yeah, what's up, man? No doubt, no doubt, my guy. So yeah, it's heading your way. So with that being said, right? Um, I personally have come into contact with several professional athletes who, after the league, have decided to get into freight in some capacity, whether they were an asset owner, they were the driver themselves, they own a brokerage. Do you feel like there is a pipeline that's being established that is welcoming, former pro athletes into logistics? And do you want to be a part of that pipeline if it is not there?
I don't know if there's a pipeline out there or not, because quite honestly, I'm so focused on just what I'm trying to build right now, so I haven't really spread my wings. I've just over the last month and a half just started letting people know this is what I'm doing. So and starting to get out and understand the market and learn about the market and learn who the players are in the market that we're in, like yourself. So I'm not really cognizant if there is a pipeline, but I know this about athletes. This is a industry that athletes should be able to come in and do well in because it's very process oriented. It's very systematic and structured, kind of like we're wired as athletes. So, and speaking of being a part of that pipeline, I'm actually going back to Wake Forest University where I went to school at on Friday, and I'm speaking to 110 football players. And then I get to sit at a table with some of these guys that's interested in being an entrepreneur and being in transportation in some shape, form, or fashion. So yes, I do want to be a guy to be like, hey, over here, this transportation industry that nobody ever goes to school to think about or think about when they're young is a pretty good industry if you got the right mindset and you want to make really good money. This could be it for you.
Gotcha, gotcha. Do you see this as, like, let's just say you go to Wake Forest, right? And you speak with those student athletes, and some of them go on to make it to the next level. They're NFL players now. Do you see any passive ways that they can utilize, their contract money to invest into the transportation industry? Or at this point, would you encourage them only to invest in things that they can, put their time and energy into?
Well, so it's one thing to invest into something and try to start a business. If they're in the league at the time, no, don't try to start this business when you're in the league because you have to be here. You got to be 100% like focused and committed, especially in this industry, to do it well. So I wouldn't advise any athlete or anybody, period, that's not, especially if you putting money behind this. Yeah, you got to come in ready to be focused 100% to invest in something like this in this industry. Yeah, invest into logistics and supply chain and things of that nature because it's not going anywhere. It is going to be here. So this is one of those industries that is going to withstand everything but a nuclear bomb. It's going to be here. So yeah, I would suggest for people who have investable income to invest into this industry. But again, if you want to start a business in this industry, wait till you are like could be fully focused or start off very very small where it's not going to take up too much of your time because it is a very very involved industry.
Yes, sir. I've seen it. I've seen it. People have the money, but not the time, and they didn't get what they thought they were paying for. So I definitely hear you there. And as we come to a close, you've lived a life, man. You've had success at every level. Leading up to a pretty extensive career in the NFL. You've seen things that people will never see and experienced things that probably will cripple some others. You know what I mean? Just like really tough, challenging things. And yet here you are. We're talking about the fact that you are still going, very hard. You're creating. You have created Bear Down Logistics. It's growing. at this point, where do you feel like you're able to draw this strength from, and ultimately succeed? You're still winning. So where are you drawing that strength from that allows you to persevere through all these things?
Yeah, and I'm glad you ended it with persevere through all of these things because, people see the social media, they see, the reports or the newspaper or being on TV or something like that. But man, that's like 1.5% of it.
Yeah.
Is that daily in and out struggle when I can't sleep at night and I'm waking up at 1 o'clock and it's 2:30 and I'm up all day and those type of things and the heartache of losing. When you're losing, you gotta come back and you gotta come back strong. Being an athlete, um, all the hard work that goes into the training and the practices before you even get on the playing field. Trying to keep a family intact and happy and fed and all the hard work that takes behind the scenes. But you get the Christmas card and everybody's smiling. But just being able to weather those storms, it comes for me with that faith that I know that at the end of the day, if we do what we're supposed to do, everything else will be taken care of. We got to do our part and have faith that we do it, God gonna take care of us. And again, we talk about those blessings, right? But those blessings gotta have, you gotta have something to capture those blessings. There's got to be a vehicle for those blessings. And as long as we're doing our part, you got to have the faith that those blessings will be captured and you'll be able to prosper from them because you're putting your work in also to be able to receive them.
Yes, sir. Well, yes, sir. Well, I truly appreciate you for joining me this evening. And, I do look forward to working with Bear Down Logistics in the future. And again, if you are a Florida shipper or you got some freight that's coming into the Florida area, I have a team right here ready to dominate. And
Ready.
they're ready to go. So definitely reach out to this brother. For everybody, I truly appreciate the support. You know, on Monday, we have another discussion coming up with Traffics, we're going to be speaking with their director of drayage. This market has been crazy across the United States with truckload, but the first mile is drayage, and we're just going to talk about what we're looking to see come in Q2. Prayerfully, it's going to be stronger than the Q1 was, and as always, tune in Monday morning, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, as we partner with Freightways Sonar Team. We are going to be joined by ILS, International Logistics Solutions, this Monday morning to talk about their high volume opportunities and have our partners with Freightway Sonar Team talk about the market analytics around those lanes. So, Des, again, brother, I truly appreciate you for joining me here. And, again, I look forward to collaborating with you.
All right, I'll be looking for that book in the mail too, man.
Oh, yes, sir. Send me the address.
Hey, I'll be texting it to you right after we hang up.
All right, brother. You have a blessing.
All right, you too.
All right, peace.